Have you heard of the brother's best friend trope in romance novels and wanted to know more about it? Today I break down the popular trope and I give you 10 brothers best friend romance recs to try. Hey romance besties, I'm Christa Tomlinson, indie published romance author. Welcome to my channel where I discuss all things in romance. This week the topic is the brother's best friend trope. Before we get started discussing the brother's best friend trope, a quick review of what tropes are. Tropes are simply common things that are used in media. All genres have tropes. So for example, in the fantasy genre, the tropes, a popular trope is the chosen one, where you have one person who's chosen to, save the world, save the kingdom, whatever. These are themes that are easily recognizable to both creators and to fans of that particular genre, and so because they're used so often. They're not cliches because each author, each creator is going to put their own spin on them. Some of the tropes that are popular in romance include secret baby, millionaires, and of course the best friend brother's best friend, which we'll be discussing today. So why do authors use tropes? Because they can serve as the framework for the author to build their story on. They can be the starting point or the focus of the story, and from there the authors can go in many different directions with the heat level, with the subgenre, with the plot points. Just basically can go in lots of different directions with the story, but the trope is what's giving them that core little nugget that they're building the story around. Tropes can also serve as a shorthand for authors to be able to promote their work, just letting the readers know up front, hey, this is what this story is going to be about, or what it's going to be like, or what the themes are going to be. It also helps readers to be able to find the type of story that they're looking for, if they're in the mood for a particular type of story they want to read that day. And if an author or if a reader were to say, hey, I want to read, Secret Baby, or I want to read a billionaire romance, if we already know what the themes are or the tropes are for particular stories, it makes it easy for other readers to go ahead and give them recommendations for them to be able to read. If you would like to know more about romance tropes, I have an earlier video that you can check out. Okay, let's break down the brother's best friend trope. With this trope, you're going to have the main character falling for her older brother's best friend. I guess technically it could have the younger brother, but it doesn't quite have the same vibe. So it's probably going to be the older brother's best friend. If it's from the viewpoint of the love interest or the best friend, then it would be the best friend's sibling, best friend's sister, best friend's brother, depending on what the pairing is. There are lots of different ways that you can do this trope. One, the sibling has always had a crush on her brother's older best friend. And now she's just been waiting for herself to grow up and be seen as mature and sexy and not like a kid anymore, so that he'll finally notice her. So that's a popular one when we're doing the best friends, brother's best friend trope. It could also be where they hated each other, maybe because he was always teasing her and maybe even teasing her friends when they were younger, or maybe she was always in the way when the best friend and the brother were trying to grow off and do their big boy things, and here comes this little sister tagging along and getting them in trouble or getting in the way. And now that they're both adults, they have this leftover animosity for each other from their childhood, but they might also have a little bit of sexual attraction for each other at the same time, which gives a great little tension between them as we're going through the best friend's brother trope with those type of stories. Another setup for this trope is that he is attracted to her, but he knows that she's off limits out of respect for his best friend. So maybe they have a pact. We don't date each other's family members, or just some sort of bro code, whatever that may be. But basically, out of respect for his friend, he's not going to date, this sister, even though he might have been attracted to her when they were both younger, or maybe just now as an adult. But basically, that's what's keeping them apart. So whichever one of those setups that you go with for the brother's best friend trope, it's going to be something that's bringing them together as adults. And each one of those setups has a little bit of a different flavor to them to make each one feel unique as you're reading. So why do readers like the brother's best friend trope? Because it's got a little bit of the forbidden aspect to it, but it's not a super heavy forbidden type romance. So just a little bit of that forbidden spice where you know that this is someone you're not supposed to be dating, whether it's the best friend, again, you're not, your friend's sister is off limits, or if you're the sister, then it could be, or the brother, it could be, I know that I'm not supposed to be dating my brother's friend. So it's got some sort of a forbidden aspect to it, which always is, gives you that great sexy tension in romance novels. Another reason that readers readers like it is because it's something that's familiar. I'm sure there are lots of us who had crushes on a sibling's older friend when we were younger, when we were in high school or middle school or whatever, and there was this cool, friend of our older siblings that we had a crush on, and in real life, maybe nothing came of it or whatever, or the guy turned out to be a joke or a jerk, and he just moved off or whatever, and you moved on and got with someone else. But in romance, you can really read this fantasy to its satisfying happily ever after conclusion. So again, since that's something familiar, it's something that readers like to read and enjoy. You make the brother's best friend trope work by playing up the forbidden aspect between the two characters. Of course, you can go ahead and go with the bro code. The brother doesn't want his friend to date his sister, but you don't want to just rely simply on that, because it can make the brother seem a little petty. It's like, okay, these are grown folks, and how do you think that you can just tell them not to date? And it can seem a little bit of not enough of an obstacle to keep the two characters apart if it's just, hey, bro code, don't date my sister. So you want to put a little more to it than that, and also you don't want to make the brother seem petty, because as an adult, he really shouldn't be interfering that much in his sister's life. So you do want to add a little more to the forbidden aspect between the two characters in this trope. So you have to kick it up a notch and give them a legitimate reason not to date. So maybe the brother has palled around with his friend for so long, and he knows his dating history and knows he's kind of a dog, and just assumes that he's going to treat his sister the same way. And of course, it might be okay for those other women out there, but he doesn't want this dude to treat his sister like that. So that could be a legitimate reason why he doesn't want them to date. It could be something where maybe they were in the military together, and he knows that this guy had to do terrible things, and so maybe he thinks that he's not a good person because of that. Or maybe it could be because he knows he's now emotionally scarred from what he had to do in the military, and he's concerned that it might be difficult for for his friend to now show love to someone because he's so wounded. But of course, as the reader and the heroine, we know that we love that. So that would be something that would make him even more enticing to the heroine, all while the brother is trying to keep them apart. So that's another legitimate reason to have that forbidden aspect in the brother's best friend trope. Another legitimate reason to keep them apart could be that this person is he's just a bad boy. So you get extra points for making him a bad boy too, because that just adds a little bit more extra spice to it. But it could be, mafia romance is excellent for this. So if he's in the mafia or something, of course he doesn't want his, little sister to be dating someone who's a mafia enforcer and is violent and fights people, or he sells drugs, or he does some sort of trafficking or something. Like, most people don't want their family members to date someone, who is, violent or, into drugs and stuff like that. So they're going to want to keep their sister, I hate to say it, but like the pure and innocent, away from all of that stuff. And so, of course, that's what the forbidden aspect is going to come in here if this guy is a legitimately bad dude. Or it could just be that he's just a bad boy on a motorcycle and has a bad reputation, or maybe he comes from a bad family or something. And that could be a reason for them to stay apart from each other. So one thing you can do to up the tension between the characters in a brother's best friend trope is you can have them, once they've decided if they want to either, maybe they just want to sleep together at first, maybe they want to try to be together, but they're sneaking around because they know that it's forbidden, they know the brother's going to have a problem with this, and so they have the sexy aspect where we're sneaking around and we're hoping we don't get caught, and then we have to decide, do we want to be together enough where we're going to come clean and confess what we're doing, or maybe we're going to get caught and then it's a whole big mess. So those are things that make the brother's best friend trope a really good read. Other things that authors can include in the brother's best friend trope is really playing up the history between the two characters. Readers love seeing that kind of backstory and seeing how they knew each other and how they used to interact with each other when they were younger and how that's carried over to today. You can really focus on having that the sibling just like flirting their ass off, trying to get this guy to pay attention to her or pay attention to him. While the guy just like, resisting because, he doesn't want to, again, violate that bro code, or, he's just, trying his best and it's just not working because they really are tempted by them. So that's something that's fun to see. Or it could be the opposite way where you have the best friend who is really just, laying it on thick to the sibling, and they're like, annoyed but secretly flustered because, I hated him. He was so mean to me when I was a kid and I don't want anything to do with him now, even though really they're like, I saw him with his shirt off when he spent the night over here the other day, and now I'm all hot and bothered by them. So those are things that you want to play up when you're writing the brother's best friend trope. My thoughts on the brother's best friend trope: I enjoy it. I think it's one, again, because I like that little bit of the forbidden aspect to it, but it's not too super heavy and too super dark like, you know, rival families or something like that that's keeping them apart. So just a little bit of the forbidden aspect. And I'm someone who had, you know, a bunch of older siblings, so I could see that being something realistic. You know, my big brother, my big sister brought home this, you know, cute friend, and I'm sitting here crushing on him, something like that. So that makes sense to me as a romance. And I like it. I think it's got some great sexual tension. I can't think of any particular titles, you know, myself, other than the ones that I recommended, that I read previously. But it's definitely a trope that I've enjoyed. So if I were to rank it on a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably put it at a solid 6.5 or a 7. It's a trope that I like. It's not one that I seek out first, you know, as the first romance trope to seek out to read, but it's definitely high up, and if I come across it, I almost always want to read it. So I'm going to go ahead on 1 to 10. I'm going to go ahead and put it at a 6.5 or a 7. And that's a quick and easy breakdown of the brother's best friend trope. So what do you think of that trope? As a reader, do you enjoy reading it? Is it one of your favorites? One that you're just kind of mad about, or one that you just refuse to read? If you're an author, do you like to write it? Have you written it? Let me know in the comments. Authors, if you have written the brother's best friend trope, if you would like to leave your links to your the title of your book in the comments, please feel free to do so. And readers, you can go ahead and leave some books that you enjoy as recommendations for other readers to read. Now that we know a little bit more about the brother's best friend trope, here are 10 brother's best friend romances for you to try. Number 1, The Not So Secret Crush by Jayci Lee. Adelaide Song might have a teeny reputation in her family for being the party girl, but Adelaide's days and debauched days are over, mostly, and it's time to take her place as part of the Hansall legacy. All she needs is her fashion savvy, a good cause, and a little help from her childhood crush. But working with sexy and oh so irritating PR specialist Michael Reynolds might be more than Adelaide bargained for. Adelaide needs his help, and damned if Michael can say no. But Michael knows that getting involved with Adelaide is flirting with sweet, ruinous disaster, like the kind that comes when you mess with your best friend's sister. This was previously published as Secret Seduction in 2020. Alright, that sounds good. So that one is, again, written by Jayci Lee. It's a male-female romantic comedy, written by an author of color and has diverse characters. Number 2 is Saint by Simone. I can't have Elijah Iverson. I can't have him because he's my older brother's best friend. I can't have him because I broke his heart 5 years ago. Because he's now engaged to someone else, someone kind and dependable who deserves his whiskey eyes, his soft mouth, his fierce intellect. I can't have Elijah because I've chosen God instead. Ooh, there's a little extra in there. The Bell brothers, though, well, we don't exactly have the greatest track record with vows. But I'm determined to do this monk thing right, to pledge myself to a cloistered life and spend the rest of my years in chastity and prayer. Oh, that's not going to happen. But now Elijah's here. He's here, and he's coming with me on my European monastery road trip. And between the whispered confessions and the stolen kisses and the moments bent over an ancient altar, my vows are feeling flimsier by the day. And vows or not, I know in my heart that it would take more than a good and holy monk to resist Elijah Iverson right now. It would take a saint. And we all know that I'm no saint. Oh, okay. That one is an MM contemporary romance, again, Saint, written by Simone. Number 3 is Falling for Your Best Friend's Twin by Emma St. Clair. There are 1,000,001 reasons why I shouldn't fall for my BFF's twin. Too bad love isn't reasonable. Zane is my total opposite. He dates a steady string of women who are nothing like me. And there's no way I would risk Zoe's friendship over my teensy tiny crush on her brother. But when Zane hires me to help fix a glitch with his startup software, I run into 2 problems. Someone on the inside seems to be sabotaging it. 2, working with Zane every day sends my feelings into overdrive. My master plan is to sniff out the rat, help Zane save the company, and get out while my heart is still intact. No biggie. But somehow, I get roped into an investor's spa trip, which means spending a whole weekend with Zane and sharing a room with his date. Kill me now. This might serve to destroy my crush once and for all, if it doesn't destroy me first. Oh, that sounds pretty good. I might be a little bit biased because this is written by a friend of mine and my former roller derby teammate, Emma St. Clair, Falling for Your Best Friend's Twin, MF Contemporary, and it's going to be a sweet romance with a low heat level. So if that's your bag, go ahead and check that one out. Next is Hart Sale by Hudson Lynn. One night wasn't enough. Danny Yip walks into every boardroom with a plan. His plan for struggling tech company Westech is to acquire it, shut it down, and squeeze the last remaining revenue out of it for his Jade Harbor Capital portfolio. But he didn't expect his best friend's younger brother, the hottest one-night stand he ever had, to be there. Tobin Locke, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, has always thought the world of Danny. He's funny, warm, attractive, and totally out of Tobin's league. Now, pitted against Danny at work, Tobin might finally get a chance to prove he's more than just Wade's little brother. It takes a lot to get under Danny's skin, but Tobin is all grown up in a way Danny can't ignore. Woo, I love that. Now, with a promising patent on the line and the stakes higher than ever, all he can think about is getting Tobin back into his bed and into his life for good. Ooh, that's spicy. If only explaining their relationship to Wade could be so easy. Okay. Hard Sell again is written by Hudson Lynn. It's an MM contemporary romance. It's written by an author of color and has diverse characters. Next is Twisted Love by Anna Huang. He has a heart of ice, but for her, he'd burn the world. Oh, okay. He sounds like he's a bad guy. Alex Volkov is a devil blessed with the face of an angel and cursed with a past he can't escape. Driven by a tragedy that has haunted him for most of his life, his ruthless pursuits for success and vengeance leave little room for matters of the heart. But when he's forced to look after his best friend's sister, he starts to feel something in his chest. A crack, a melt, a fire that could end his world as he knew it. Ava Chen is a free spirit trapped by nightmares of a childhood she can't remember. But despite her broken past, she never stops seeing the beauty in the world, including the heart beneath the icy exterior of a man she shouldn't want. Her brother's best friend, her neighbor, her savior, and her downfall. Theirs is a love that was never supposed to happen, but when it does, it unleashes secrets that could destroy them both and everything they hold dear. Okay, this one sounds like it's got a lot of angst and a lot of drama. Okay. Again, this one is Twisted Love by Anna Huang. It's an MF romance, contemporary, and written by an author of color. Next is Her Best Friend's Sister, written by Meghan O'Brien. At 12 years old, Claire Barker developed a massive crush on her best friend Sarah's older sister, the handsome butch Alex Williams. Now 27 and a successful entrepreneur, Claire's interest hasn't waned, despite Alex's fashion photography career keeping her overseas for months at a time. When Alex moves home unexpectedly, she and Claire end up enjoying a surprise, wine-fueled reunion that alters their relationship forever. Are Claire's dreams about to come true, or will real life prove to be more complicated than her fantasies? Okay, so it sounds like they had a little sexy one-night stand there. Her Best Friend's Sister by Meghan O'Brien is an FF romance, and it is contemporary. Troublemaker by Sean Ashcroft. Neighborhood bad boy Aiden Good has had a crush on his brother's kind, smart, straight best friend since he was 15. So when Carter asked him to come to a family wedding as his date, Aiden jumps at the chance to spend a week alone with the man of his dreams. A romantic cabin, one bed to share, and an ex-girlfriend to convince that Carter's moved on, plus a confession that Carter kissed Aiden's brother when they were 18 because he was curious about boys. What could possibly go wrong? Okay. Again, that is Troublemaker by Sean Ashcroft. Ashcroft is an MM romance and is contemporary. Giving Chase by Riley Hart. Keelan. I wasn't supposed to fall for my older brother's best friend. Unfortunately, that ship sailed when I was a teenager, even though Chase Hawthorne always treated me like nothing more than a younger sibling. See? Things were worse after my parents died. Chase was sweet and supportive, which only strengthened my feelings for him. But then he acted like I couldn't take care of myself, and that part didn't go over well with me. Yeah, I had a habit of screwing up. I'd always been the weird boy in our small town, but just like my big brother, he took overprotective to a new level. Until one night when I was 18 and Chase and I hooked up. It was a ding to the Ingo that he left town right afterward. Ooh, I'd be embarrassed. Ridiculously, I'm still not over him. Chase, I betrayed my best friend Griffin the night I messed around with Keelan. Aw, see, that's why. So I ran first to the Marines, then into law enforcement. 10 years later, I'm back home, this time as a patrol officer rather than a troublemaker's son. Oh, and unable to keep my hands off Keelan Kane. There's always been something about him, the way he stands strong in who he is, even when he's standing alone. I'm trapped between someone I want more than anything and Griff, the guy who's like family to me. Yet the more time I spend with Keelan, I hope I'm saying that right, the harder it becomes to deny there's something real between us. With my dad stirring up trouble and me going behind my best friend's back, everything's a mess. The more tangled the web gets, the more I realize I need Keelan, and that there might be something in the Hawthorne family history that'll make me lose both Keelan and Griffin for good. Okay, so it sounds like we got a mystery along with that, but yeah, that summary, that sounds like a perfect brother's best friend trope right there. So again, that one is, I just forgot the title, Giving Chase by Riley Hart. It's an MM contemporary romance written by an author of color. Good Boy by Sarina Bowen and Elle Kennedy. Hosting her brother's wedding for an MVP guest list is the challenge of Jess Canning's life. Already the family screw up she can't afford to fail. And nobody, absolutely nobody, can learn of the colossal mistake she made with the best man during a weak moment last spring. It was wrong, and there will not be a repeat. Okay. Absolutely not, even if he is the sexiest thing on two legs. Blake Riley sees the wedding as fate's gift to him. Jess is the maid of honor, and he's the best man. Let the games begin. So what if he's facing a lot of resistance? He just needs to convince the stubborn blonde that he's really a good boy with a bad rep. Luckily, every professional hockey player knows that you've got to make an effort if you want to score, okay? But Jess has more pressing issues to deal with than sexy times with a giant man-child, oh my goodness. Such as, will the ceremony start on time, even though someone got grandma drunk? Does glitter ever belong at a wedding? And is it wrong to murder the best man? Caution, may cause accidental aspiration of tea or coffee. Do not read at a public place where loud laughter is inappropriate. Contains hot but hilarious hockey players, puppy cuddling, and a snarky pair of underwear. That one sounds like it's funny. So that one, again, is Good Boy by Sarina Bowen and Elle Kennedy. It's a male-female romance, and it is a romantic comedy. And last, 100,000 Words by Nyrae Dawn. Tobias Jackson grew up in Coburn, a town where the gay population equaled exactly one, him. Add that to the fact that his dream guy was his best friend's jerky older brother, Levi Baxter, and it made hooking up virtually impossible. Now home from college for a winter break, Toby is a different person. He left Coburn for San Francisco, where he wasn't the lone gay guy and the only black kid in town. And yeah, he took advantage of what the city had to offer. Apparently, Toby isn't the only one who's changed. Levi's not acting like the self-centered guy with all the answers that Toby remembers from growing up. Oh, and Levi's realized he's bisexual, which makes things a lot more interesting. Heading back to college, Toby doesn't expect to meet up with Levi again, despite him being in med school not far away. A surprise visit from Levi blows that assumption out of the water. As they spend more time together, Toby sees Levi as more than just a fantasy. He's complicated, unsure. He's real. But if Toby can't get out of the past and find the words he keeps locked inside himself, he'll lose his chance at Levi for good. Okay. Sounds like they've got some good history there, and he has some difficulties expressing himself, perhaps. 100,000 Words by Nyrae Dawn. MM romance is contemporary, written by an author of color, and also has a diverse character. Okay, so that's 10 best friends brother romance trope recommendations. I hope you'll give one or some of them a try, and hopefully that you'll enjoy them. The links to buy those will be down in the comments below, so make sure you check some of those out. And now it's time for a little bit of self-promo. It's not a brother's best friend romance, but I would love if you checked out Blood Kiss, my MM Vampire Mafia romance. In this story, we have Vampire Mob Boss Everett and Human Mob Prince Solon as our main characters. In this story, we have Solon, who puts himself up for auction to be sold to as a human blood pet to a vampire sugar daddy. But he just does it as a joke. He just wants to see what it's like, and he tries to take off without honoring his contract. However, he doesn't realize that Everett is powerful enough to force him to comply with honoring his agreement, and that's what brings them together. So from there we have, lots of, sexual tension between the two, and a little bit of animosity, and because Solon is a spoiled brat, so we got a little bit of animosity on his part, and lots of sexy blood drinking and shenanigans ensue from there. Blood Kiss is a low angst, high heat, slow burn romance. It has light mafia influence, so it's not super dark, it's not super violent, doesn't have a lot of dark themes. It's really mostly for the aesthetics too, because I like to keep things light and sexy when I'm writing. So I would love if you checked out Blood Kiss. It is available on Amazon in Kindle Unlimited, on ebook, and also in paperback. And you can get the suitable for work copies available, cover copies available at Barnes & Noble as well. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your view. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit the like button. And if you would like to see more from me, you can go ahead and subscribe. It lets me know that people are enjoying the videos that I'm putting out there, and lets YouTube know that this is something that people who have the same interest might want to watch as well. If you would like to follow me and kind of chat with me about romance or whatever I'm hyper-focused on at the moment, I'm on Twitter at Christa T Romance. I'm on TikTok as Christa Romance Author as well. And my website, where you can find all of my books and more information on me, is ChristaTomlinson.com. Thank you for watching. Bye. But he knows that she's off limits out of respect for her, out of respect for his. I'm sorry, what was I trying to say?